Coming up on City Spotlight, we are back in the studio for this latest episode on Charleston as we talk about Eastern Illinois University. We'll get caught up on the latest going on at EIU with Dr. Flaherty, the new Vice President for Student Affairs, and Dr. Eric Davidson, Interim Director of EIU Health and Counseling Services, about the impact COVID-19 has had on EIU during the fall semester, specifically the impact COVID has had on EIU students currently and moving forward. We're talking Eastern Illinois University on this latest episode on Charleston, here on City Spotlight. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com. Hello and welcome to another edition of City Spotlight. We are back in the studios of WEIU, first time in a long time, our first time here in Season 7 in the studios of WEIU. And on this latest City Spotlight episode, we're talking all about Charleston. And here in this first segment, we're talking Eastern Illinois University. And we welcome first time to the program, the new Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Flaherty. Ann, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are pleased to have a new face from EIU on the program here. And Dr. Flaherty has been at EIU just a few months, so we look forward to learning about your position, what you're dealing with here at EIU during this strange fall semester that we've all encountered. We are, as you can see, we are taping apart, masks on, all the precautions of COVID as we tape here on November 24th. Dr. Flaherty, pleasure to have you on. Can you tell our audience at home a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, name is Dr. Flaherty, and I started the last week of July as the Vice President for Student Affairs. It was an interesting journey getting here. I interviewed last spring. It was all done virtually, wow. And I first stepped foot on campus after offering the job. So it's been an interesting way to start the job. I am a longtime student affairs higher ed person my whole career. I've worked at various institutions throughout the Midwest. I'm a Midwesterner. I grew up in Southeast Iowa in a small community similar to Charleston. Wow. My husband Steve and I have 3 teenage boys who keep us active and busy. And yeah, it's great to be here. I'm excited to be a Panther, and although this year has been a strange way to start in the pandemic, I'm looking forward to the future. So you mentioned you've been at other institutions in the Midwest. What leaned you toward coming to EIU? What was attractive about coming to this university? Sure. Most recently, I was at Washington University in St. Louis, so just a couple hours down the road, and as I was looking for a vice president position, I was looking kind of locally and regionally with ties to Indianapolis and Kansas City. And so certainly the location was appealing to me. A previous staff member of mine worked at Eastern Illinois and did his degree here, and he spoke very highly of the university. So that was kind of what originally drew me here. And then through the interview process, just felt really good about the folks that worked here and the students. And then when I stepped foot on campus, I was really excited to see what a beautiful campus it was. All right, well, welcome to EIU. You've been here coming up on about 4 months now as we tape here in late November. Tell us about what your position entails. You are the Vice President for Student Affairs here at Eastern. Right. So I have 10 departments that report to me, and they range from the ones that are on my mind a lot right now because of the pandemic is the medical clinic and our counseling clinic. Also have the student life area, Greek life, housing and dining, Office of Civic Engagement and Volunteerism, orientation, and then also the police department, career services, recreation. Wow. I think I've caught them all. It's a big portfolio. It really encompasses all the areas that support students outside the classroom, so kind of a co-curricular experience. Perfect segue here, listing all those different areas that you are responsible for involving the students, as most positions here at Eastern entail, but definitely at the current moment we're taping here, November 24th, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, 8 months strong, I guess, here affecting us here in Central Illinois at EIU. Mm-hmm. It's your first year at Eastern. What have you seen how EIU has navigated here as, again, we tape here on November 24th? Right, yeah. Of course, coming into EIU, I was learning the environment, and I'm learning it in COVID land, if you will. But I've been really impressed with the approach that EIU's taken. I strongly believe we've put student and faculty and staff safety first and foremost. We've required masks at all times, which is pretty, I guess, stringent, if you will. A lot of universities aren't necessarily requiring it all the time. I think that's been very helpful in keeping transmission down. If you look at our weekly dashboard numbers, you'll see that our student numbers and employee numbers are significantly lower than the greater community. So we're really proud of that. As I walk campus, I rarely have to ask a student to put a mask on or correct it. So they've done a good job with physical distancing and looking out for one another. So very, very impressed with how the community has managed the pandemic.
All right. Well, recently EIU held its, I guess, 3 or 4 times a year, they hold the Board of Trustees meeting. And your first BOT meeting that you attended happened a couple of weeks ago before this taping. And you had a presentation there about themes at EIU, kind of mostly talking about how COVID has impacted the students, and let's go over some of those areas. And if you could tell our audience about burnout, isolation, and a phrase that I'm hearing a lot lately, COVID fatigue.
For sure. Right. My presentation was on mental health and the pandemic, and I shared some national data. Since the pandemic has began, about 1 in 4 college students have seriously considered taking their own life, which is a horrible statistic and tragic. And but kind of when you think about some of the themes, even just feelings of isolation, right? Our current setup at Eastern is that all students that live on campus have a single room, which is very new. Typically, they would have a double unless they were paying for a single. So there's feelings of isolation, even when they're in the classroom, right? They're sitting 6 feet apart. We aren't encouraging groups to get together. Our registered student organizations, we're pretty limited in what we can offer. So when you think about the college experience that most students envision having, it doesn't really look quite like that. So we're doing our very best to build community and a sense of belonging, but we're challenged in this environment. So isolation, loneliness, frustration, disappointment, loss of things. For example, I've heard so much about homecoming here at Eastern Illinois and the parade. And so to go through that homecoming week and almost barely feel like it was homecoming was really disappointing for me as a new person coming to this community. And I'm sure students who've been through homecoming before were disappointed. So just a whole host of emotions. I will say, though, for students, I think being able to kind of move forward with college, and move forward in life, I think is good, even though it might not be quite the experience they have. So.
Right.
COVID fatigue is real, though. We call it 2020 fatigue, COVID fatigue, all the above.
There's new lingo that we're learning every day with COVID and every week, and COVID fatigue seems to be the trending, I guess, if you want to stay with those terms. You mentioned homecoming, and one thing that's going on here at EIU that's kind of moot, I guess, if you want to say, is this is the 125th year of
Absolutely.
EIU. So,
yeah.
COVID has struck again, I guess, in that sense of terms. But
sure.
So burnout, isolation, COVID fatigue, as we've mentioned. Talk about anxiety and depression. Those are things that could naturally be happening with college students. I'm not a health expert, but having gone to college, those are feelings you have in normal terms.
Absolutely.
It's got to be amplified with COVID.
Absolutely. Around 5 years ago, on most college campuses, anxiety pushed past depression as the top presenting symptom. And again, I could talk a lot about why I think that is. But certainly in the pandemic, there's just so much anxiety about the unknown. How long are we going to be living in this environment? Will my classes move online? What's going to happen next? So anxiety has been exacerbated for sure. I will say that this year that in the counseling center, the top 3 presenting symptoms are anxiety, depression, but the third one is also academic concerns. Yeah. That has not been in our top list, from what I understand.
Wow.
And that is obviously created by the pandemic and the uncertainty about classes and what is expected of a student.
How they're learning.
How they're learning, yep, right, with the shift to online learning. About a third of our students prior to the shift to online were doing hybrid classes, a third were doing in-person, and a third were doing online. And of course, we're now completely online for the rest of the semester.
Very good. Again, we're taping November 24th, and we'll talk about the rest of the semester and moving forward in a second. As I was there helping with the streaming of the Board of Trustees meeting, I heard a couple of comments, I think it might have been after your presentation, about students and the variation of classes they would have. Say in a day they'd have 3 classes and 2 of them were remote, and then maybe they weren't motivated to go to that one in-person class.
Exactly.
Again, that new wrinkle that you're talking about, academic concerns, it's very real.
Absolutely, yeah. Which is interesting because you think students would be craving that in-person experience, but I think when everything else is online, you just get in this routine and you kind of get in a rut. And so I am hoping this will be our last semester. We get a vaccine and we can move out of this pandemic, because I want our students to have the college experience they're hoping for.
We are taping here again. This is Thanksgiving week, November 24th. The students are obviously at home as we're taping here, and their final 2 weeks will be a remote learning there. Before we talk about 2021 and what it might look like here at EIU, let's talk about the services available at EIU. You obviously have the health and counseling services, which you obviously work with.
Exactly, right. So we have our student counseling clinic, where students can reach out to get an initial evaluation and determine if ongoing counseling is appropriate. There are other resources too. We have a lot of good group sessions that might be appropriate for students. I often believe that sometimes the best medicine for students is exercise and physical, getting those good endorphins flowing by working out. The Rec Center offers wonderful programs, classes, cardio machines. When the weather's nice, there's great walking trails around Charleston. In addition, being connected, getting involved is important. I strongly encourage every student to at least belong to one RSO or find some group to connect with to have a social outlet. So, of course, and then there's the medical clinic. If a student is not feeling physically well, we strongly encourage them to reach out to the medical clinic as soon as possible.
One thing you also talked about in your presentation at the BOT meeting was alternative counseling. Talk about what some of that might entail.
Yeah, for sure. I am a huge proponent of meditation and yoga. I believe we can calm our nerves and our anxiety by meditation, deep breathing. I encourage students and staff, to do what I call 4x4 breathing. Breathe in deep for 4 seconds, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. The power of breath is amazing. There are a lot of good online apps such as Calm. There's Insight Timer, which is a free meditation app. There's a lot of great resources. And students are so connected to their phone. I encourage them to put down their phone and take a break, but it can also be a good tool to help them with things like meditation and mindfulness as well. Your
background leads me to maybe a question I should have asked at the very beginning. Your background is very much centered around and definitely could be a strength of this university during this crazy time. Tell us about your background and this timing to be able to use your skills during these crazy times for the students.
Yeah, so my undergrad degree is in psychology. My graduate work is in higher ed administration, but I have always felt very passionate about health and well-being. My dissertation was on wellness topics. I started a wellness program at a medical school, my first professional job, so it's been a common theme throughout my career. I personally read up and learn about this topic and try to convey that when I'm working with students and my staff in particular.
Okay, very good. We are taping here near the end of 2020. We all like to forget this year, I guess. Moving forward, obviously EIU is finishing the fall semester here in 2020 remote. What can you tell us about the start of 2021? Or will there be any new things implemented via counseling services or anything like that for when the students come back at the start of the new year?
Well, certainly, we're going to make sure that students stay safe, and we know, where the virus is, so we're going to continue with our mass testing. We'll have a mass testing on December 2nd and then again on December 15th, so before students go back home, they can get tested to protect their families. We are bringing on board a new counselor in the counseling center. We are in the process of hiring a new counselor, so that will add to available counseling appointments. And we'll be working with the counseling center to think about some of these other alternative opportunities for students as it relates to kind of mindfulness and health and well-being.
Many resources here available to EIU students here in Charleston, and obviously adding another body there that can help out students. Dr. Ann Flaherty, the new Vice President for Student Affairs here at Eastern Illinois University. It's been a pleasure having you on City Spotlight the first time. We look forward to having you on again.
Thank you so much. It was fun. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. And coming up next here on City Spotlight, we'll have more on this new episode on Charleston. But first, let's take a look at some of the upcoming activities going on in Charleston. And we're back here on City Spotlight, this new episode on Charleston, as we continue talking Eastern Illinois University. And to help us out in this segment, we welcome first time to the program, Dr. Eric Davidson, Interim Director of EIU Health and Counseling Services. Eric, pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Eric is a first-time guest here on City Spotlight, not unfamiliar to the WEIU airwaves. Obviously, with the year that we're in, you've been on the radio, Issues and Attitudes with Jeff Owens several times, and also the EIU COVID program that WEIU produced back in the spring. Eric was one of many EIU leaders on that program, so welcome back to the airwaves of WEIU TV. And before we get talking about the fall semester here at EIU, that's almost complete. You're a first-time guest to the program, Eric. Can you tell us about yourself?
Sure. I'm considered a local boy who has done well. I grew up in Neoga and graduated from Neoga High School and ended up coming to Eastern and ended up getting 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree, and along the way found employment here. So I've been employed here now at the university for 22 years as a professional. My wife and I have lived in Charleston for the last 24 years and have found this to be a great community to raise our family. She's an educator in the local school system, and our 3 kids go to the local school system as well. And we just think Charleston's a great place, and we're happy to call it home.
All right, so two folks from Central Illinois sitting here at EIU. We're talking here about EIU here in the fall. Eric, we're taping here on December 3rd. Semester is quickly winding down for EIU. You and I last talked on that EIU COVID-19 program back in the spring, almost 7-8 months ago. Seems like a long time ago,
Very
but
much so.
Could you give us kind of an overview of EIU and COVID as we sit here on December 3rd?
Yeah, this semester has completely exceeded my expectations. When we spoke last, we knew the future was coming, and we really weren't certain what it would look like. And I would say through all the teamwork of all the different departments and all the different individuals working together to put things in place to mitigate risk, we have been effective. It hasn't eliminated the risk, but it's greatly reduced the risk. And when we look at our current counts of positivity, the number of students that are having to be quarantined, it's much, much lower than what I would have anticipated that we would have experienced at this time. So as an institution, we've done a really great job, and I'm just really happy to be part of that team.
All right. Definitely a team effort. Took everyone here, staff, students, everyone. So again, we last talked in the spring. Tell us about the preparation for this fall semester and those protocols that, probably many protocols that had to be set in place.
Yes. I mean, there are a lot of things. I mean, everything from the academic side of preparing buildings for how people enter and exit and what side of the hallways that they would walk up and down to the classrooms, and making sure that the classrooms were big enough to allow everyone to be appropriately social distance, to housing, looking at having 1 student per room, as well as the efforts that they have taken for cleanliness and disinfection, both in the residential areas as well as the dining centers. Everything that's been done when we've had students that have been positive or needed to be put in quarantine, and putting them in quarantine space. So I mean, there's just been numerous things that we've done to mitigate. And again, it really has been a team effort. And I think we have been very successful in many of our initiatives.
You mentioned one thing there that I heard on a recent episode on Matt Toon. Superintendent Tim Condren talked about a couple of his buildings were built in the 1950s. Tighter buildings, not exactly for social distancing. So that, I'm sure those challenges were
very much so
widespread across campus here too.
Very much so. There are several committees in the academic side as well as the business side, who worked really hard at finding great spaces for our classrooms.
All right, let's talk about testing here on campus. Ironically, we're taping here on December 3rd, and you had some testing yesterday. Talk about the testing that has taken place and the testing that's been done there where you work at the Health and Counseling Center.
Sure. We've been doing testing all semester. At the beginning of the semester, we had a wonderful partnership with Sarah Bush, and we were able to test folks, faculty, students, and staff at the beginning of the year. Most recently, we've been able to do surveillance testing and mass testing through partnerships with the Coles County Health Department and the Illinois Department of Public Health. So yesterday, we were able to test 288 university and community members. Wow. Our previous testing had resulted in over 800 and 700 folks being tested. So we're very grateful for those opportunities. Within our medical clinic, we've been testing folks that have been symptomatic and sending our specimens out to Sarah Bush. And recently, we've been getting results back. If we take early morning draws, we've been getting responses back by the end of the day. So that really seems to be working really, really well. And when we have positives, we're able to initiate the mechanisms to get our students who are living on campus into quarantine. Our students who are off campus are communicated with, and we're checking up with them. So again, a huge team effort. And as we look forward to the spring semester, the university has partnered with Shield, Illinois, and we're hoping to be able to use their saliva-based testing to continue surveillance testing every week beginning in the spring semester.
All right, a little foreshadowing. I'll ask you about that at the very end of the interview. And tell us about your Health and Counseling Center here at EIU. Tell us about its role during these unique times.
Sure. We have an integrated health and counseling unit. So, for the medical clinic, in addition to testing symptomatic students, we really see the gamut of all college health: sprains, strains,
everything,
STI, upper respiratory, all of that. So, we've continued to see students for that. Our counseling clinic traditionally had done face-to-face 45-minute counseling sessions. They have moved to a virtual format and do a lot of their sessions through Zoom. In addition, we have also taken our physical groups and made them virtual groups. So we've offered about 7 to 8 different groups on anxiety, transitions, and those types of things. And then this semester, we've also pushed out some educational classes on resiliency and mindfulness, which have been well attended. So, we're learning and growing as we go through this pandemic and modifying our services to meet our students' needs. And from what we're hearing, the students are happy with the virtual counseling and the virtual groups.
All right. You and I last talked via Zoom, so it's good to be in person, but the virtual way is the way of the future and of the now. Nice segue there with what we're going to talk about next. Dr. Flaherty, Ann Flaherty, was in the program here in our first segment, and she talked about the mental strain that COVID has had on students. Have the students been utilizing the health and counseling services for those mental related issues, and the kind of the term of now that's kind of come about with COVID is COVID fatigue?
Yes, very much. I mean, we've seen increased demand of our services and the things that we offer. When we see students, they're experiencing the normal issues that our typical college population would experience, but it really seems to be magnified and exacerbated by everything that they're going through with COVID. Due to the social distancing, there's not as much social support. Granted, there's differences in virtual social support than real face-to-face social support. So that's having an impact on our students. And I think the other thing that we see is that, students have an expectation of what campus life would be like normally.
Right.
They have an expectation of what they think it will be like in a COVID world. And sometimes those expectations do not align with reality, which add to that mental health complexity. So we're aware of it, we're watching it, we're concerned about it, we're doing what we can, because we know that it's not only a here and now issue, but it's also going to be an issue that will continue to affect students down the road. And it will also probably affect academic success, retention, recruitment, and all of those things. So it really is an important piece of the puzzle.
And we're talking about students from freshman through senior and then graduate work, and for those freshman students to have this be their first year of college, obviously that's not what they expected, nor did anyone that returned to Eastern.
Right.
So very good. You and Dr. Flaherty, I believe, are under the same umbrella here at EIU Student Services. She just began her term here. Your impressions of her and her first few months here and what she brings to the university during these strange times?
Definitely. I'm enjoying working with Ann. I really like her a lot. Her biggest strength is that students are at the core of everything that she does. She is very student-centric. It's instrumental to her agenda. anytime there's an issue or a problem, it's how does this affect the students? How can we make this better for the students? And that's really nice to have in a senior student affairs officer. For me personally, she's had direct experience supervising and administering health and counseling entities. Right. So that helps. She is able to understand and has walked in my shoes. Mm-hmm. So I'm very appreciative of that. And I think what I like also about Ann is the fact that she has been at several institutions. You know, I've been here all my career, so right. I know how things go with Eastern. And
so a fresh perspective.
I've had some, yeah, very much so. So that's been refreshing as well.
Okay, excellent. As we wrap up with you here, Eric, and we appreciate your time here on City Spotlight. You already alluded to what's to come in the spring here at EIU with some additional testing and working with someone else. We're taping here December 3rd. The students are about to go back home, come back in early January. What can we expect here for EIU in the new year of 2021?
Sure. You know, when we return back to campus in January, I think many of the mitigation and protective strategies that we have currently going on now will continue to be in play. We're beginning to look at and explore what we will need to do in collaboration with the county health department and IDPH regarding vaccination. I tend to have a healthy skepticism that we'll probably get vaccine for our students probably in March, maybe April, based upon the information that I'm now getting about how vaccine will be distributed. But you know, some people are viewing vaccine as a magic one that will fix the situation. And I think we're still going to have to continue with our mitigation strategies through the vaccination process and probably all of the spring semester. So in some ways, we're going to continue operating as we're operating now. We'll figure out when the vaccinations occur and how that may change operations for the spring as well as for the summer. And then hopefully we'll be able to return closer to what we might have perceived as being normal for next fall.
And to kind of put a bow on this interview, we last talked back in the spring when COVID was still being, how does this work? And you ended your comments there talking about what I think everyone is talking about right now is when the vaccines may be coming and how they can maybe help with this, this crazy situation that obviously, as you said, is not leaving us anytime soon.
Right.
Dr. Eric Davidson, Interim Director, EIU Health and Counseling Services. We appreciate your time here on City Spotlight.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of you for joining us for this latest City Spotlight episode on Charleston as we focused here going on in Eastern Illinois University in the fall semester. Thanks for watching City Spotlight, and we'll see you next time. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com.